Welcome everybody, my name is Lehane, this is Rainier Books, this is my channel, a German booktuber living in Sweden, talking about books in English. So it is Sunday, September the 26th, which is a very special day for two reasons, I guess. One reason is that today there's a parliamentary election in Germany, that after 16 years we're going to look for a new government because Angela Merkel is going to leave the boat. And the second reason for being a special day is that today is the European Day of Languages. Since 2001, it's the 20th time that we celebrate the European Day of Languages and that we celebrate languages in Europe. But today I want to talk about my reading, and I want to do two tags, the M tag and the N tag, both inspired and done and originated by Jim from Jim's Books, Reading and Stuff. So let's get started. I am currently reading two books. I haven't finished one of them. I'm reading Nomadland by Jessica Bruder, about the nomads living in the United States in their RVs and their campers, driving their cars, their campers from workplace to workplace and trying to make a living even after they are 60, 65 years old and actually should retire, but they can't afford to retire. A very interesting book. I'm going to talk more about it in one of the next videos when I finish the book, and also about the topic, which I think is very heartbreaking and very important. The second book I'm reading is from the post-Soviet book club still, Dorota Maslowska's novel Snowwhite and Russianred, about a drug dealer in Warsaw. No, not in Warsaw actually, in a smaller town in Poland. A drug dealer in Poland in the beginning of this century, and the Ruski War, and the girls and the drugs and everything, the lies, the betrayal. Not very pleasant reading actually, but I am now determined to finish it. So these are the two books that I'm reading that I haven't finished yet. I'm way behind my schedule, and I'm going to work on a schedule, on a TBR for the rest of the year, the books that I want to read over the course of the next 12 weeks when October comes next Friday. So I'm going to make a video about that as well. And maybe you will join me, you would want to join me with one or two buddy reads. There's one buddy read that we have agreed upon, and that is Paula from Draw Your Book. And we're going to read our third buddy read, and this is going to be about Katie Kitamura's novel Intimacies, which is longlisted for the National Book Award in the United States. But let me now get to the M tag that is originated by Jim at Jim's Books, Reading and Stuff. The first prompt is: Manchester starts with an M. What is your favorite book set in a city beginning with M? I decided to go for The Master and Margarita by author Mihail Bulgakov, a novel that was, I think, written in the 50s, and it was for a long time it was forbidden in the Soviet Union until it was allowed again in the 80s when Mikhail Gorbachev took over, and it became an instant favorite for many, many Russians. They had read it already while it was forbidden. And when I was in Russia in the 1990s, I met people who could quote chunks of the book to each other. They could talk in dialogues from Master and Margarita with each other. That's a fascinating story about the devil coming to Moscow and the Master. But the Master and Margarita, the city, of course, in which Master and Margarita is playing, is the capital of Russia, Moscow. Beautiful city that you should visit. Have done it twice and many years. Murder mystery. Is there a better murder mystery than Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None? I haven't read And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie, so I don't know how good it is. But I don't like murder mysteries that much. And I connect them mostly to Agatha Christie, whose speciality was to do these whodunits, where everything was sort of focused on who done it, who done the crime, did the murder. I would like, although I have read many thrillers and many crime novels, there are not so many whodunits. It's more the police procedural that I have read, or the hard-boiled detective novel. when I was younger. So I pass here. I don't know if there's a better one because I don't know the novel by Agatha Christie. Maps. What is your favorite map? Map? Like a map about a city, about a country? I don't understand the question. My favorite map would then be... I don't have favorite maps. No. The next question is Mississippi. What is your favorite story set on the Mississippi? And I think that Jim is expecting all of us here to say that it is The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain. That's apparently the only answer I can find. That's a great novel, and it's the start of all American literature. Muslim. What is the last book you read with a Muslim protagonist? The last book I read with a Muslim protagonist was something I started and didn't finish yet. It's The Bad Muslim Discount by Syed M. Massoud. Not easier. Let's say Syed M. Massoud. The Bad Muslim Discount, okay? Mars. What is your favorite book about Mars or about Martians? I don't have one. I haven't never read a book about Mars, I guess. No, I don't think so. Must read. What is a book you feel you must read? Right now, there are always many books that I think that I must read when I see BookTube, when I see what's on the market right now of contemporary novels. There's one novel lying here on the table in my kitchen that I feel I must read, and that's The Other Black Girl by Zakya Harris, I think is her name. That's really something that I want to read, that I feel that I must read. Seems to be a good book. Hopefully a 5-star read. Margaret, what is your favorite book by Margaret Atwood? I have no favorite book by Margaret Atwood because I haven't read books by Margaret Atwood yet. Is it possible to say that? And M is also for, and of course, for Margaret Pennard. Have you read any of Margaret Pennard's books? Well, in case Margaret Pennard might be watching this video, I'm not going to lie, no, I haven't read Margaret's books because they haven't found the way to me yet, but I absolutely feel it's also something that I want to do until the end of next year. Is that okay? Is that a promise? That was the M tag, so I continue directly with the N tag, and N is for New York. What is the last book you read set in New York, city or state? The last book that I read that was partially set in New York, city or state, actually was a non-fiction book called Undocumented Americans by Karla Cornejo Villavicencio, where she spends at least one chapter and parts of another chapter on Staten Island. And writing about the undocumented immigrants, also at the World Trade Center, where she tells us the story of not exactly how many, but that there was so many workers helping to clean the rubbish from the World Trade Center attacks that were undocumented and that risked their lives for the United States that I didn't know. So that was the last book, The Undocumented Americans. N is for 1984. Which novel is closer to our reality in your opinion? 1984 or Brave New World? Definitely 1984, because we're all surveilled by high tech. That is definitely the case. 1984, Big Brother is watching you and me and each and every one of us all around the world. N is for nightmare. Has any book you read given you nightmares? No, it hasn't. Although I have many times, I think I have been told what kind of impact Dennis Lehane's novel Shutter Island had on me when I was feeling not very well mentally, and I made the mistake of reading Shutter Island. That makes you feel even worse. So don't do that. If you ever feel mentally unwell, don't read Shutter Island by Dennis Lehane. Otherwise, read it. N is for nautical and navy. What was the last seafaring book you read? The seafaring book. And finally, I can mention it again. I can mention the wonderful novel by Vanessa Veselka, The Great Offshore Grounds, that spends a lot of time on the sea, on the west, on the Pacific. It's a beautiful book. It's a beautiful novel, a great American novel. Each and every one of you should read. Again, N is for NetGalley. That's right. Oh my gosh. Do you use this or similar sites where you can get free ebooks and EARCs in the expectation you will review the book? Yes, I do. I use NetGalley, but I'm super bad in really reading the books to get the important number of percentage to be able to continue and to get offered new books. So I'm way behind, like 5 or 6 books that I have still on my Kindle to read. Among them is Oksana Zabushko with another book, the Ukrainian author. And among them is also Rachel Kusk with the second place, which I have as an ARC. I have to read 2 or 3 of them to be able to continue. But maybe that's also a lack of my being not so enthusiastic about reading electronic books that have produced a problem for me that I'm way behind. But I'm way behind with every books right now, all kinds of books. So forget it. N is for 19th century. What is the last book you read written in the 19th century? Oh my gosh, that is a horrible question, because I don't read so many old books that I should. One of the books that I read from the 19th century was actually Effi Briest by Theodor Fontane, one of the greatest German novelists of the 19th century, who started writing novels first when he was like 63 years old, which gives me the hope that I still could be a part of literature history in Germany by I started writing now, because I'm younger than Fontane. Yeah, but anyway, I think it was Effi Briest by Theodor Fontane. And as for Northanger Abbey, Catherine Morland's reading affected how she saw the world. Has your reading affected the way you see the world? Yes, it definitely has affected the way I see the world, because there are many things that I learn from reading that I couldn't learn by myself in just running around and traveling around the world. For example, I read now Tara June Winch's novel The Yield, which taught me a lot about the issue of the Australian native population, the Aborigines. I read a lot of books about race in the UK and in the USA, which taught me a lot about that experience. For example, recently I read Assembly by Natasha Brown, which gave me the perspective of a young British black woman who has tried everything, studied well, learned ambitious to try to fit into society, but who also still encounters a lot of racism. I cannot make that experience on my own, and I won't get that experience from sort of meeting people here and just asking them about it. Why should I ask them? Which right do I have? So I learned this from literature. I learned a lot about literature, so this actually changes absolutely the way I look at the world. And many other things that I could name, but race is definitely a thing that I have learned so much about reading. And as for notes, do you make notes when you are reading? Yes and no. Sometimes I do. I actually did that yesterday when I was reading Nomadland by Jessica Bruder to prepare for talking about this book, and also to remind more of this book. I should take more notes, definitely. That's definitely something I should do, and I think it's good to take notes and also to take quotes of books. And as for neurodiversity, do any of the protagonists in your reading have a different way of thinking to what might be considered normal? What is considered normal, Jim? Let me ask you that. Luckily, this has changed so much, the perception of what is being normal and what is not being normal. We have widened our perspective in the last 20 years a lot, and embraced being different. So, I would say that there's one book that I have not really started yet. I read a couple of pages that is also something that is going into that direction, and that is the Japanese novel that I'm reading, The Girl with the Purple Cardigan. I guess that is something that where we have a protagonist like that. Also, I read The Winner many years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, by Michael Redmond from Toronto. I think it's called, Square. And this is also a protagonist that is losing her mind in a way. And Shutter Island, of course. So there are quite many books that have this neurodiversity in a way that people are really ill and telling stories. And as for next, what is the next book you intend reading? Well, considering that I will finish both Russianred and Snowwhite and Russianred by Dorota Maslowska and Nomadland by Jessica Bruder, the next book that I really want to pick up, I want to read, is, I already said it, The Other Black Girl by Zakya Harris. That is the next book I'm going to read. This was the Amtag. What else am I doing right now? Why am I not finishing books? You are asking. Because I am watching a lot of TV series right now, and I have seen great stuff on Netflix. I really love this true crime filmatization of a podcast, actually, that the Los Angeles Times has made. It's called Dirty John, about a man who existed in real life named John Meehan, who was a very, very scary figure, and who was a sort of a man who harassed women, who got lots of restraint orders from women. He was a fraudster, and he was very dangerous, apparently, and Netflix made a series about him called Dirty John, which I really would recommend to you to see. It's great stuff. And also listening to the podcast now after I viewed the series. So that's what I'm viewing right now. The sun is going down now, as you can see behind me. It's getting dark here, and it's time to say goodnight, and it's time to watch the German elections and who's going to be our next chancellor, the next Bundeskanzler in Germany. With that, I leave you. Please tell me what you are planning to read as your next book down in the comments below. As always, stay tuned to my channel, please, but most of all, stay safe. Bye-bye.